Speaking of salaries, though, Dan Lanning is our latest coach who got a nice bump. He has agreed to a new contract with Oregon. It will raise his average salary close to $11 million annually. Oregon says the deal will run for 6 years through 2030. His buyout to leave remains $20 million. Athletic director Rob Mullins said in a statement, Oregon football has reached historic heights under Dan's leadership. His relentless commitment to providing a first-class student-athlete experience is evident in the culture he has fostered within his program. His dedication to the university, our student-athletes, in the city of Eugene has put Oregon football in position to compete for championships on a yearly basis. Lanning, we've talked about this. He's still young. He's only 38. He's been a head coach for 3 full seasons, and he's 35-6 during that time. We all know how the season ended. The Rose Bowl in that blowout loss to Ohio State. But what do you make of this? Dan Lanning's a guy that we always talk about. We talk about him as kind of who we'd want to be the head coach if you're starting from scratch in 2025. But he has not won. He did not win, a college football playoff championship. Right. This was a team that people thought should. A lot of us picked them to win it all this year, and they come up short. So what do you make of a restructured deal and a bump up into that $11 million range?
I think he deserves it. He's one of the faces of college football right now. So I think he should be paid like that. The results on the field the last handful of years, but in particular, this year is the most consistent team in college football in the regular season, won the conference championship. And unfortunately for them, you run into Ohio State with the chip on their shoulder playing the way that they were in the postseason. Like, that's something that I can rationalize there. I do think it is intriguing, though, that he is being paid in the realm of coaches that are championship coaches. You've got Kirby, you've got Dabo, you've got Ryan Day, who is making a ton of money now. Bill Belichick has not won a college football national championship, but he's got a lot of them as a pro coach. And so that, to me, sets an expectation for results. But I do think this is an intriguing one. Me, as somebody who is on the outside of the Oregon sphere, would not look at Dan Lanning's tenure at Oregon if he never won a championship and said that it was unsuccessful, because nobody else has done that there. They have not won a title. And so I'm curious about what expectations are. The fan base is going to have their expectations, which I totally get. But as a collective of college football watchers, does the 11 million automatically set an expectation that you expect him to win a championship? And if it does, I do think that's an interesting spot for a place that has not won one yet.
I think there probably is a little bit of that, of now that is the expectation. But I think that's true in general because of where the program is, right? Like, everyone's been waiting for that next step. And, people thought that was kind of the narrative around them this year. Would they take that step? And, getting the number 1 seed, the only undefeated team, like, there was a lot of that expectation around them already. So I think that the dollar sign adds to it, but there was already going to be pressure. And Dan Lanning himself has not shied away from that. Like, when his name gets attached to A&M opening and all these other places last year, Alabama, he was like, no, I got what I need. I can win a championship here. So to me, the question's never been about resources. So I guess we could say, okay, yeah, his dollar figure is going to be in the same as the championship caliber guys, but their commitment to facilities and everything else, NIL, was already there, right? So, like, you already had that spending and that level of resources. So I don't know that this necessarily even changes that. I think it's just where the program is. It's like, okay, you've been to the CFP. Okay, you've had Heisman Trophy winners. Okay, you have had Heisman finalists. Okay, you've advanced. You've won a championship in your conference. You've done this. You've done that. This is the next step. And to your point, it's very hard when you've never done it before. We now only still have 3 active coaches that have national championships. Really, really hard to do. And you need a lot of things to go right. You need injury luck on your side. You need matchups to fit well. So it's not like a foregone conclusion. And if what you pay your coaches and what you paid your roster guaranteed championships, A&M would have won one a couple years ago, right? It's just, it's hard to say. So to me, I don't think it changes anything. I think it just reiterates that Oregon is willing to spend just like the best teams in the program, and that they believe that that is like absolutely necessary, non-negotiable piece of the foundation to win a championship.
No, I'm totally there. That's how I see it. Is you have to be committed in order to be a program that can win a championship. But I do think when you're paid in that realm, for some people, it does flip this switch of like, well, that's the expectation that you're telling us, is that you think he's like these other guys. And so down the line, he needs to produce like that. I'm not willing to get there because that's not a place that has traditionally done it. I think they absolutely can. It's not to say that I don't think that they can, but to say that's like the one thing I would judge him off of, which people might start to do now, which is a weird thing that we love to do in this sport. I'd pump the brakes. I think he's doing a phenomenal job and he earned this pay bump.
Yeah, I do too. I think this is like a normal salary and like contract renegotiation for someone that would be atop my list for any job that opens.
For sure.
And is having success, and did, beat Ohio State and did win the Big Ten conference. So to me, that's normal. This is different than like Jimbo Fisher's
Right.
contract, which was
No,
fully
I'm with you.
guaranteed, super long. And it lent itself to, okay, this is how much each loss costs
Right.
because like of what you're paying this person. That
Right.
felt different. This feels more in line of like what college football coaches in that echelon should be. Even though I didn't have a title, I think, again, just the way that he builds his program, the way they play, the way he recruits, and how coveted he is anytime any other job opens, this makes a lot of sense to me.
No doubt. It's just the whole, BK down at LSU, right? Like I think people are getting tired of
Yeah,
that because
it's
of
worth it. Are you getting your
and
money's worth?
we're doing the Lincoln Riley thing. I think the Sark thing has become a little bit interesting there, where this year I think people really do believe that they can win. But if they don't, and how much he's being paid, like that's where we get into these conversations and like the scope gets so narrow. We did it with Ryan Day for a
Yeah.
while until he won it. Like I think we should, avoid that conversation and just appreciate the idea that this is one of the big players in college football and he deserves this.